for the picket signs. Pray for the Gaza skies in the dead of night. All the forgotten ones, pray for peace. Pray for a quiet mind. All my life, anniversaries, all the adversities, pray for life. 'Cause we don't talk anymore, I don't know what for, ain't it?
So far, the UN, the ICC, the ICJ have failed to act for the genocide in Palestine. Today, we're in Tavistock Square in London. There are many activists who are protesting the ban on an activist group called Palestine Action, who are a global Palestine activist group. They have been holding signs saying, "I oppose genocide, I support Palestine Action," and being systematically arrested. Tabi, please tell us, why are you here today?
We're here as health workers and allies because in healthcare we believe the best course of medicine is preventative action to prevent the catastrophe from occurring in the first instance, which would then require treatment. So if we apply this to what's happening in Palestine, the arms that are being manufactured at Elbit Systems, BAE Systems, right here in the UK, using British labour, is actually the primary cause of death and destruction. The drones that are being used to decimate buildings and lure people out with the sound of crying children, they're made right here in the UK. So the best course of action is to prevent these weapons of death and mass destruction from going into the hands of genocidaires. So in healthcare, we are just following what we are being taught and what is best for humankind. Healthcare is a human right, and our primary objective is to save life. And in order to save life, we must stop the flow of arms into those who want to destroy life, and that is the Israeli war machine.
We've seen countless healthcare workers be absolutely obliterated in Palestine. You know, can you tell me your feelings about that? Because obviously these factories make the weapons that have killed, you know, your peers in Palestine.
Yes, it's absolutely horrific. Over 1,500 healthcare workers have been slaughtered, and there has been silence from CEOs of NHS trusts, and there's been silence by medical associations. When Putin had bombed a hospital in Ukraine, Keir Starmer had been the first on the screens to condemn this horrific war crime, as he should. But where has been the outrage for the 36 hospitals that have been burnt to the ground, decimated, repeatedly destroyed, healthcare workers not only abducted but raped to death? And we are failing to see global coverage on this, recognition of the war crimes committed, and accountability. So we need to hold Israel accountable, and that is in the form of sanctions and the two-way arms embargo. Moral citizens wouldn't have to stand up and shut down arms factories if the UK government complied with international humanitarian law and their own domestic laws and stop arms from going to Israel.
And you mentioned Russia-Ukraine there, and Russia bombing a Ukrainian hospital, and Keir Starmer, he felt it was abominable behaviour. Why do you think he's not doing the same for the people of Palestine? Unfortunately,
we have a Labour cabinet in power that has been cemented into the throne by the Zionist lobby. So any form of condemnation on Israel's actions is going to incur them to impose sanctions or incur them to impose accountability. And they cannot hold Israel accountable because they are their allies. And so we are now left with a government that is not representing British interests. They are representing Israeli interests, the Israeli lobby. So now moral citizens have to fight for their civil liberties and fight for what they believe in, and that is ending the war, ending the bombing of hospitals in Palestine, Sudan, globally. You know, destruction of healthcare is a horrific war crime. According to Article 18 of the 4th Geneva Convention, this is a punishable war crime. The ICC has issued arrest warrants. We're seeing, you know, violations on violations being ignored, not just destruction of healthcare, it's human rights and civil liberties that are now being destroyed too, right here in the UK.
How important do you think it is where we rise up in resistance as a people for the people of Palestine?
Palestine represents humanity. What's happening is the erosion of international law, the Geneva Conventions, and continued violations with no accountability and support of the arms from our countries using our taxes and our labour is increasingly becoming more worrying, simply because if we were to be plunged into another war, the erosion of international humanitarian law means that we will not be protected either. How can we cry about violations of international law happening to us when we inflicted and supported the violations of international law on the Palestinians? So right now this is a litmus test for humanity. We must all rise up together, come together to support Palestine, to support the sanctions and embargoes being placed upon them, and direct action groups who are fighting to stop the flow of arms to Israel are simply doing the job that our politicians have failed to do, and that is to stop arms to Israel. Israel, who is posing a threat to World War III, which means a threat to the British public.
Okay, are you all right to stand up for me? Is that okay?
So tell us, why are you here today?
I'm here to support hundreds of people who've come out in the rain. We feel that the UK government is complicit in the genocide in Gaza.
You're currently in a country which is actively collaborating in a genocide. At the height of its collaboration, it's used terrorism legislation to suppress all public discourse about the one group of people in this country who've been actually putting their bodies on the line to materially interrupt the collaboration in genocide. Turn around and say we do not comply with that. So go to defendourjuries.net and find out how you can get involved. Come and join us outside the Royal Courts of Justice next week.
Why have you chosen to take part in this action today?
Because the genocide is still continuing in Gaza, and our government is still colluding in that genocide. I'm at the feet of Gandhi specifically because he was non-violent protester against British colonialism, and I'm here still protesting about British colonial settler and collusion, etc., etc.
How impactful do you think it's going to be in turning this ban on Palestine Action being prescribed as a terrorist organisation?
Well, I think it's really important because it shows how many people are really worried about the fact that we're sliding towards an autocracy and a dictatorship. Our rights are being taken away. And so I'm just hoping that more and more and more people will join these kind of protests.
How important do you think resistance is within this movement?
Resistance is like all we have. I'm here to support the Filton 24, de-proscription of Palestine Action. It's clearly not a terrorist organisation. The UK government are not just complicit but participants in a genocide, in an ethnic cleansing. They can do is sit here with a piece of cardboard and be called a terrorist. Everybody's got to come to London and march for Palestine. We've got to keep showing up.
I don't want to feel complicit. I'm around people holding up stupid bits of cardboard and being arrested under terrorist legislation. I mean, it's like living in Alice in Wonderland, only a very brutal version of it.
When you know perfectly well they're not, and you're the government, and then to imprison them for it.
If your arrest is to establish your name in a suitable bail condition, okay?
There is nothing anti-Semitic in opposing genocide. My father was in the Łódź ghetto and various concentration camps during the war, and at that time most of the world didn't care what was happening to Jews. Now, thankfully, the world has changed a bit. There are people trying to do something to stop the genocide in Gaza, to support the people who are being genocided. Keir Starmer's government is actively supporting that genocide and in some ways implicating the entire British population.
Free speech in this country is under attack by this government, by Starmer's government. And he calls Palestine Action terrorists. They're not terrorists. He is a terrorist for supplying weapons to Israel, committing genocide, which is still going on today, even though the so-called peace, ceasefire. It's not happening. Palestinians are still being killed, and Starmer is responsible for that.
And we know that it was Yvette Cooper who actually proposed this proscription. What are your thoughts on Yvette Cooper?
It's not It's not principle, really. She is a horror, the same as the current Home Secretary. She's as bad, if not worse. She supported Palestine at one stage. Now she's against demonstrations. This is shocking. This whole government, every one of these ministers, including Starmer, they're shocking. Hopefully this will be overturned during the week at the law court. And it's the judges are looking good in this country, not the politician, certainly not Starmer.
What was it like in the Israeli army?
Very easygoing, actually. There was no brainwashing because it's already assumed. Israeli culture, everybody gets brainwashed right from birth, literally. Kindergarten, kids are taught to read and write by writing letters to soldiers thanking them for their service. The commander of my unit said, if you capture an Arab prisoner, just shoot them. We don't need them. And that was in 1967. He wasn't being malicious at all. This was how he was brainwashed. Even in the early 60s, they were conducting raids into Jordan, secret raids, to keep the pot boiling. It came as quite a shock to realise that they absolutely don't want peace.
And so bringing it to the present day then, and the IDF and the IOF, what is your opinion and what do you think should happen with them?
Oh my God, words cannot say. I would not like to say it on camera. It's disgusting. And again, the vast majority of Israelis don't realise what's happening. They don't get good access to truth. It's when you know how to do it, it's quite easy to hoodwink a whole population. Goebbels in Germany became a master of the art. And modern day Israel is a Nazi culture, pure and simple. As bad as the Nazis, if not worse.
Thank you so much for sharing that, and thank you for talking with us today.
Thank you.
I've got a cameraman here. Thank you so much, comrade! Woo!
Conditions, anything we need to worry about? Yeah?
When you're ready, we'll count down. Okay, 3, 2, 1, lift!
Mate, if you can push through,
Watch your backs! Move! Watch your backs! Two more. Well done.
Thank you, comrades! Free Palestine!
I am so upset about the numbers of police who turn out on these events, huge numbers of police. I'm appalled at the cost, the waste of resources. There isn't a blank check for this nonsense. Biggest concern is that if a government tries to silence its opponents by prescription, where does that end? You know, it's our freedom of speech, it's our democratic rights that are at stake. It's really serious. It's state repression, you know, which I never thought I would see in this country. Our basic civil liberties are at stake.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine! Shame on you!
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Palestine will be free!
In of thousands, in of millions!
We are all Palestinians!
The belly of the beast!
Hands up and be released! Voices together, we shall not be moved.
The action is now coming to an end. It has been a smaller group than usual. The weather may have played an impact today, but still steadfast comrades sat with the signs and were systematically arrested under the terrorism laws. There's been massive support from grassroots organisations as well as larger organisations like Amnesty International and Cage. Basically what we've heard is that they are against Elbit Systems and other like companies selling arms to Israel to drop on people in Palestine. So the action will continue. There are some more actions planned for different cities around the UK. Will it make the big impact that we hope? Well, the trial starts on Tuesday, the 25th of November, for 3 days. Will the ban on Palestine Action be lifted or will it hold?
Pray for the picket signs. Pray for the Gaza skies in the dead of night. All the forgotten ones, pray for peace. Pray for a quiet mind.